Maria.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm using a microphone.
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Just to pick up on what you just said, not that I'm trying to find any objectives, but are there any signs, when you are practicing this of coming in whenever it's possible, are there any signs in your perception or in your environment, in your life that is telling you, yes, things are working?
Okay, sort of that signs that you are on the right path, right?
Yes.
Kind of.
Yeah.
You're on the right path.
Yeah. Just because one of the things that's happening to me, it's quite often, is that it feels like I'm just on the other side of happiness, just very close, as if it's
on the other side of happiness, you said?
Yes, just if it happens, it's just few millimeters thick. It's like if I feel it around, but I'm not quite sure how to explain that. But.
Yeah, well, don't worry about it, because we are in the business here that's impossible to explain. So we're talking, even though we all know that's no way to talk about it. So we're trying anyway, right? When you, Maria, when you sharply angle in, does your contrast mind stop or slow down?
Slows down.
Slows down. Okay. And if you keep on angling, does your mind let you stay?
Yes, it does. Until something else happens, and usually from outside, and brings my attention. But yes, okay. It's becoming longer, but it is still. It's not. What's the word? It's still fragile. It comes and goes, but it's a bit more of it. That's why I like your topic. Say this is something for the spiritually exhausted.
Yes.
I'm not after reading more. I don't know the reading. I don't know. Just.
Yeah. I understand. Well, you know that you basically there is no feedback from the contrast mind, to the ratio mind. We talked about it. Remember?
Yes.
So there is.
Explain what you mean for new people.
Yeah, the contrast mind is the mind we use every day, directly connected to the senses. The contrast mind only sees contrast, so something against something. So the contrast mind has all kinds of goodies, like feedback. If you're proceeding in the direction of the contrast mind, it can tell you whether or not you're going towards the target or you're going away from it. So the contrast mind has a good feedback mechanism. However, once we're in the body and we're what I call a ratio reality or oneness, call it what you want, it doesn't matter, right? As soon as that happens, there is no feedback from your contrast mind to your ratio mind. The two does not talk. Now the contrast mind is expecting a feedback, but it's not getting any, or very little. So whenever we ask this question to ourselves, we must be aware of the fact that there is no feedback, and therefore there is, whatever you're sensing, there is nothing to compare it to, right? However, instead of comparing, we're gonna be noticing. You might notice stuff. You might notice that the spaceships around you, but it doesn't have a reference point in contrast reality. Generally speaking, so if you keep that in mind, generally speaking, if you have less unwanted thoughts, you're making great progress. Less unwanted thoughts. By the way, Ramana Maharshi said that. Just to throw in a name here and there. Said,
Name dropping.
name dropping. If you're basically nobody really addresses this question, how do you know you're going on the right path? But he said that the lack of unwanted thoughts is how you know that you're in the right path, and I fully agree with him. So whenever you, let's say, you experience being inside whatever level you experience, right? Knowing that you cannot get feedback from your normal senses because we're in the world of nonsense.
Yeah.
So we're in the world of nonsense, you can't get sense, can't get a feedback from the world of sense, right? So what I would suggest when you sharply focus in, that you try to keep your focus and you attempt to stay as long as you can stay, which is your natural state. Use your mouth more. I don't know if we talked about it, but one way of staying inside is to use your magic wand, your arm, and kind of try to be in it and make movements. It'll help you stay in. So if I'm in my fingers and I turn them towards my body automatically knows what I mean. 2, once that's done, then you go into the mouth. It's an amazing controlling instrument.
Mm-hmm.
You smile, even whether you feel like smiling or not, smile, but visibly make your mouth smiling, like it looks like you're smiling. And it'll help you feel the body and help you stay. So between the simplicity of the magic wand, the arms and the fingers, and the smile, it'll help you stay. So kind of play like a kid, because as you know, this subject can only be addressed in a very fun way, in a way that it's absolutely not serious. If we're addressing it very seriously, we might get into a fantastic intellectual discussion and a fantastic something, right? But nothing is going to work. So the smile and the magic wand, simplicity and sometimes chuckle will help you keep being inside. Like as we're sitting here, all of us, we can feel the butt on the chair and use your smile to say hello to your left cheek on your butt. And make sure that the other one doesn't get jealous. So you use the other side as well to say hello to your right cheek. And the chuckle, right? And keep smiling and be aware of your breath. And be aware that your breath wants to take the smile all over the body, in every cell of your body. And then be aware of your hand and be aware of your chest. We're playing like a bunch of kids playing, playing in a playground. Anytime a thought comes up, we know what to do with it, which is absolutely nothing. So if a thought comes up, we do the simplest thing, chuckle. And it's gone. La, 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 la. Oops. We can use different techniques, but the chuckle is the simplest. We can use the dolphin, which is a big chuckle. At one time, I called the chuckle like a stupid kid technique. And there was a group of ladies and people, they didn't like that I call it a stupid kid technique. So the more non-serious, the better. One thing we have in common is that our pivoting our attention inside. Okay, any other question?
Yes, I have a question. Normally when I attend the satsangs, and also when I met you and I listened to Conscious TV, first when I got to know you, my mind becomes so still, and I just want to, it's very challenging for me to open my eyes and to do the, I just feel I fall into a very, very still place. And I've slept on the satsangs, and I just woke up and I just thought, what? And I'm just wondering, could you just explain me a little bit about, I mean, it's not the first time it's happened with me, but it's the first time that it's been so deep in a way, so incredible still. So if you could explain me what is happening.
What is happening?
That would be very...
Okay. Okay. So you remember in the previous answer, we talked about the fact that the contrast mind, which connected to the senses, do not have a feedback mechanism from the ratio reality, right? Remember, this doesn't talk to that. It's good to be aware of it. So all those symptoms you are describing is very normal for some people, and there is it's like, just imagine that you as soon as you focus in and you're in that space, you connected to the universe, connected to God. Can I say connected to God, for example? And God is taking you for a ride, right? And everyone is on a different ride. The commonality is the same. We are in nonsense reality. You're holding God's hand, and everyone is being pulled for a ride. And your ride will be, you know, quite a bit different than someone else's. Even though we're already in unified reality. So the only thing that's requested of you is that you keep holding on to the rope, even though the road might be bumpy. By bumpy, I mean it could be just such a deep space that you don't want to open your eyes, right? And so the consistent reapplication of this, like for instance, if you opened your eyes at any time when you don't have it open, and smile and you just touch. This one touch, pivoting and one touch, no matter what's happening, is telling the universe, telling God that yes, I'm still holding on, even though my sensations are very different than yesterday, or my sensations are very different than I have ever experienced. So the consistent reapplication of the focus is what's required, not the reapplication of, not the re-explanation. Make sure that if your mind go into a re-explanation mode, right, that's not what we're after. What we want to do is whatever moment you want to touch, and then let the universe take you on your path, and then all of a sudden you notice something different, and again just angle in sharply. So allow God to take you on this path of yours, and you giving permission with this. you'll see how wonderful and simple it is and how well it works. If the mind tries to explain something, then you can say thank you, but chuckle, right? Because what we don't want to get into at that point is an explanation by the mind. Because the mind says, oh my God, you're such an advanced student, look what's happening with you. Or it might turn around and say, oh my God, you know, you've been doing this for 1,000,000 years. How come this is happening to you, right? When in fact it's got nothing to do with you. Our only job is to hold God's hand, which is this, and the rest is not our job. So by keep on doing this, once in a while, we're reaffirming our commitment and reaffirming our permission to take us on this inner path, which has no path. Did I answer your question? You're welcome. Everybody's smiling nicely. Nina is smiling. Everybody's smiling. Okay. Any other question?
See the other side.
See if the other side. No. We can always, if you want, we can always go to the shoebox for a question. We have many emails come in, and sometimes we choose a few questions that we find interesting enough to answer. So we can always go to the shoebox or the inbox for a question. So go ahead, Nurit.
I have to find it now. Okay.
Question.
Yeah. And this is funny. This is very similar to what Maria just asked.
Yeah, maybe they were listening to what Maria was going to say.
Similar question. Let me see. This is two, I think. Oh, no. Okay. In your book, Functional Silence, you talk about the different pitfalls on this path. One that I often run into is that I don't have, oh, it is the same. I don't have the great spiritual experiences that I used to have. Without these experiences, how can I get proof that I am progressing? I think you just answered
it's
that.
so weird. Today it's that also re-emphasizes the importance that somehow today is about knowing that the contrast mind has no feedback to the ratio reality. So the best way to tell how you're progressing is knowing that your contrast mind will not know and will not be helpful for the answer. But if you have no unwanted thoughts, then you're definitely progressing. And the simpler, the better. You feel simple and loving, nothing complex. Usually when people have great spiritual experiences, mostly they are in the mind.
Phyllis is going like this.
And I hate to say it because I usually insult a few people, but it's generally speaking spiritual experiences, and I've had many, and Nurit had many, and many of my friends had many amazing spiritual experiences. My ego and my contrast mind would have thought, oh my God, this is definitely a guru material. I should go and teach this, and I'm definitely enlightened to have this kind of experience. What we're after is this pure silence, where it's very comfortable. It's so comfortable that you don't need any proof that you're progressing. And the more nothing we do, right? Smiling into it is not a nothing, let's say smile. The more nothing we do with this silence, the better it'll stick. Because this is either going to be very easy or impossible. By relaxing into it, knowing that it's a feeling, and not taking the feedback from the mind, we don't need any proof. We know we're there. And if you let our mind talk to us, it might say, oh, this can't be this simple. Yeah, I feel simple, but and I feel wonderful, and I'm kind of happy, but it's not very intense. Especially at the beginning, it's not intense. The intensity of feeling comes when we are in the mind. Intense feeling, intensely good comes after feeling maybe feeling intensely bad. So when we're in the swing, as a comparison, this feels very intense in comparison to this. But if there is no reference point, like in this unity loving consciousness that we are in, if there is no reference point, then it doesn't feel intense. So intensity is not, at that point, is not necessarily a good measurement of this. You know we're home, and basically it gets deeper and deeper by itself, and you will know that you don't need any proof.
I guess you can also say that when you don't care about getting proof, that is a sign. That is proof.
Yeah, it really becomes so comfortable and so comforting. It's like a big loving something hug you.
Yeah.
That it's so not intense, but so subtle and so powerful that you really know that you're home. And we can't get there by comparing, and we can't get there going towards the target. This loving space cannot be found. If I'm looking for it, I can't find it. Looking is over here, right? I cannot have feedback from my contrast mind that I'm there.
Dudu is saying,
Yeah.
one is awake when one asks no more questions.
Yeah, there you go. It's true. It's true. But in the meantime, everyone in this group has awakening moments and quite a bit of awakening times. So it's a something that we can't find. It's a something that we can't get to. It's a something that we can't compare to anything. So it's an inherited right. It's your birthright. So, okay, we said that before. Everyone heard it. It's my birthright. So you can't get there, but you can inherit it. Can you imagine if you say, okay, I have this wealth. I can't work for it. I cannot go and deserve it. I cannot go and modify stuff for it. I cannot go into war and get it. The only way I can get this wealth is to inherit it. And I already did. So the way we can get in touch with it is by not looking for it, but collapse into it, right? So if you're collapsing into it and you feel this amazingly powerful, steady feeling, then you know you're there, and it's that simple. It's an inherited right. You cannot get to your inheritance by deserving it. You can only get to your inheritance by collapsing into it, by stop searching for it. Hence, I call it a vector, like it's in an angle to the contrast reality. It's not in the same angle. It's not in the same place. It's a different place. So self-realization simply means that I don't have to look for a damn thing. I don't have to deserve a damn thing. I deliberately use those words. I can't find this damn thing. Of course you can't find it because it's nonsense. But I can collapse. By collapsing it, by collapsing into my body, I'm grabbing my inheritance. That's the only access point to the inheritance. And the conscious mind can't make sense of it, of course. Because what do you mean you don't have to deserve it? Since everything we do in this dimension, we deserve, we fight for, we compare, we create war and we create peace, we make bigger weapons, and oh my God, I worked hard all my life, now I get a golden watch, and I'm waiting to die. So that's reality that's acceptable for the conscious mind. This one cannot be, it can only be inherited, and you already did inherit it. Everyone is everyone's inheritance. But you have to activate the inheritance by collapsing into it. And knowing this makes it simple. Not knowing this makes it impossible. Knowing this, again, it's simple. Not knowing this makes it impossible, because then we're back to searching and deserving and improving of something. A prince or a princess would know. Of course I have this inheritance. I was born into a royal family, of course. So the price to pay to receive your inheritance is not to work hard, not to deserve, collapse, humble, simple. That's how we grab our inheritance, humble, simple. And it is my mandate to make it easy, or explain or do my best to make it easy, because it is easy. Otherwise, it's not possible. See if anybody else has any. Everyone is. Dorina has a question. She's unmute her. Can't hear you. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
You are talking about this moments of collapsing. Recently, when they happen, because of doing this more often, there comes a moment when the breathing is slower and slower, and you feel like you no longer breathe. And but at the same time, there is no panic, because there is no thought, almost no thought in the mind, and you just stay there, and the attention goes only on the small breathing. And I do not panic. It's hard to panic, although, but sometimes a thought comes, and as you taught me, you don't only breathe oxygen, you also inspire prana, so you are safe somehow. But when this happens, you just stay there, right?
Yes.
No matter what happens, no matter whether you die or not, you collapsing at all, you just stay there, right?
Exactly. And those are some of the so-called simple secrets that when we go inside, there is only one way in, there is only one road. But once we're in, it's like you're allowing God, if I may use that term, to take you for a ride. And your ride will be a little bit different. And some ride is really weird because it's not known to the conscious mind. And once in a while, just peck at it, just sharply going, hey, I'm still here, I'm still here, I'm still here. And that's like what it seemed to do, it seemed to calm down the contrast mind, saying, yeah, okay, I know that this is good, but how do I know it's good? Well, I'm still holding God's hand. And God is taking me on this ride, and I feel really very, very relaxed. And the breath becomes very refined, right? The breath is like, oh my God. It's like, who am I? If I ask that question, oh my God, I'm this breath, amongst other things. So it's so refined. So yes, it's perfectly fine. And once in a while, just touch. Assurance to the contrast mind, and also assurance to every part of you and to God that I'm still holding your hand. And sort of do as you please. It's not a very nice sentence from the contrast mind perspective, but I'm simple and humble enough to God take me for this ride, because I already opened the doors. Okay?
I think
There is a what?
I think we have 7 minutes.
Oh, okay.
If there's anybody else.
Anybody else want to ask something? So nice to see all these people. Wonderful people. Well, let's see if there is another question from the shoebox.
Yeah.
Maybe we can address.
Okay. What's the difference between mindfulness and being in the present moment?
Okay. Of course, it depends what we mean by mindfulness, but to my knowledge, mindfulness usually means that a person pays attention to what they are doing. This is what's in front of me, and this is what I'm doing. I'm mindful of touching my glasses. I'm mindful of putting my hand up. I'm mindful of what's happening. So mindfulness emphasizes be there and focus on the action at the present moment. And being in the present moment, well, we can, it's just a word, but let's say being in the present moment means I'm not focusing on what I'm doing. What I'm doing is what I'm doing. What I'm focusing on is to make sure I'm holding God's hand. I like to use that expression. So my focus is not on the doing. My focus is on making sure I pivot my attention and making sure that I feel some part of my body, and then I'm doing the doing. So it's a very different focus. One is focusing on the doing, the other one is focusing on being. What we want to do is focus on being, and the doing will kind of happen. And you automatically will be paying attention to what you're doing. That does not have to be a separate focus.
Even the words imply like mindfulness. You're paying attention with the mind.
Yeah.
And being in the moment with your being.
Yeah, we're focusing on being, but let's not forget that whatever the answer is here, right? Whatever the answer is here, we have to chuckle it out. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as we say, oh, now I know what the answer is to stay present, not being mindful, the contrast mind registers it as a contrast. And now the contrast mind says, oh, now I know. Okay, you have to be in the present moment. And the words don't mean anything. So any expression that we have or any explanation, we have to cancel it out or collapse it. As soon as we have an understanding, we collapse it. How do we collapse it? That's it, it's collapsed. Move your mouth a little bit, do a few weird stuff, chuckle, and it's collapsed. Because we don't want to get to an understanding, which is wonderful at this moment, but the next time is going to be a obstacle. Because the contrast mind will say, oh, I know the answer to that. And we're not asking for the contrast from the contrast mind for an answer. to this question. I mean, sometimes you ask the conscious mind for an answer, but not when it comes to awakening. When it comes to awakening, asking the mind for advice is like asking your goat to guard the cabbage. I'm sure everyone has a goat, right? I mean, come on. It's a survival necessity.
Ours is out to pasture.
Yeah. So the conscious mind is wonderful. It cannot advise me on awakening, because awakening is precisely how to bypass the mind. And temporary, it will look like we make the conscious mind insignificant. It's only temporary. Later on, both modalities will operate in harmony, perfect harmony, which is the idea of awakening. The idea of awakening is not to disregard contrast reality and go to this one. This is not a better reality than this one. It's just that we have to activate this because we haven't used it for a long time. But ideally, we want both to operate in perfect harmony, and that's mastery. Removing ourselves from normal life is not mastery. Yeah. I just want to say it's so nice to see you guys. Like, I know every one of you, maybe except one personally, really well. And I don't know Maria that well, or Nina. But I know everyone. It's so nice to see you guys. It's and I'm so delighted that you keep coming and you keep being with me. Being together like this is a huge benefit to for everybody. It's easier to be in the present moment. And the acceleration of this knowledge, not a good word. It's much higher, much easier, much softer. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you. So nice to see you.
Very nice to see you. Take care.